Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more details videos. I learned from it. Coco Gauff overtakes Serena Williams in impressive feat as she moves on. Gauff has her sights set on her second Cincinnati Open title in 3 years, after defeating Lucia Bronzetti in the round of 16 on Thursday afternoon. Gauff took down Bronzetti in a tight two-set match, 6-2, 6-4. She is advancing to the quarterfinals in the Queen City Tournament for the second time in her young career, awaiting the winner of Jasmine Paolini and Barbara Krejcikova. Gauff's first WTA 1000 title came at this tournament back in 2023, when she defeated then world number 1, Iga Swiatek, in the semifinals and world number 10, Karolina Muchova, in the final. She became the youngest champion in the tournament's history, winning the whole thing at just 19 years old. It was her coming-out party before officially putting the tennis world on notice, winning the U.S. Open a month later for her first major singles title, taking down rival Aryna Sabalenka. However, the most notable statistic to come out of today's match is the history she made by passing the great Serena Williams. Since the Tier I/WTA 1000 format was introduced back in 1990, Gauff now has the third most quarterfinal appearances in such events with 19, before turning 22. Williams had 18. Gauff is only one back behind Maria Sharapova with 20, but won't catch Martina Hingis, who remains at the top, with an outstanding 39 quarterfinals before the age of 22. She turns 22 on March 13th of next year, so she has time to make a move and claim that number 2 spot, which she most definitely will. Meanwhile, after today's victory, Gauff was honest and transparent with her play, appreciating her effort while admitting she still could have played better. For the most part, one played aggressive, Gauff said. Maybe got a bit passive in some of those games. But it's tough. The balls are super light, and they fly. She wasn't giving me much pace. I was trying to play with control, but also aggressive. For the most part, one think I did well. I had chances in a couple of those games. I missed a couple balls, but I learned from it and was able to close it out. Gauff's quarterfinal match against either Paolini or Krejcikova will take place on Friday. I learned from it. The Coco Gauff chapter. There's something magical about standing in someone's shadow, until the moment you realize you've outgrown it. For years, Coco Gauff walked in the outline of Serena Williams, a name so heavy with legacy it might have crushed a lesser spirit. Not Coco, though. At 15, she stunned the world by beating Venus Williams. At 19, she lifted the U.S. Open trophy. And now, not yet 22, she's done what no one thought possible so soon. She's overtaken Serena Williams in a career milestone that once seemed untouchable. But that's just the headline. The real story lives in the quiet hours, the sweat-stained training shirts, and the moments of doubt Coco never let anyone see. Chapter 1. The Echo of Legends. Coco grew up watching Serena, not just as a player, but as a force. She taught me that power doesn't ask for permission, Coco once said in an interview. She didn't wait to be invited to greatness. She walked through the front door. As a child, Coco copied Serena's serve in her driveway in Delray Beach, Florida. Her father would hand her a racket nearly too big for her hands and whisper, "One day, that court will be yours." At the time, it felt like a bedtime story, something nice to fall asleep to. But years later, under the lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium, with a nation watching, Coco realized she was no longer dreaming. "I learned from her that greatness doesn't come with comfort," she said. "It comes with choosing to show up when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Chapter 2. The Weight of Expectations. It wasn't easy carrying the tag, the next Serena. Journalists said it like a compliment. Coco felt it like a weight. "There were times I didn't want to be the next anything," she admitted. "I wanted to be the first Coco." Social media amplified everything. A single loss could turn admiration into doubt. People forgot she was still a teenager, still figuring out who she was outside of tennis. But Coco didn't hide from the pressure. She studied Serena's interviews, the way she answered with poise even when the questions felt loaded. She studied how Serena responded to boos with a sharper backhand, how she turned anger into focus, and pain into momentum. From Serena, Coco learned not just how to win, but how to withstand. Chapter 3. The Breakthrough. Her 2023 U.S. Open win was more than a trophy. It was a statement. The world watched her fall to her knees, sobbing into the blue court, as if years of expectations finally left her lungs. Serena had 23 Grand Slams. That kind of record is Everest. Coco didn't need to match that to make history. She needed to define her own summit. And now she has. With her recent feat, overtaking Serena in total match wins before the same age, Coco cemented something more than a number. She proved that evolution isn't betrayal. That moving beyond a legend is not disrespect, it's tribute. I didn't pass Serena, she said, smiling in a press conference. I just moved forward on the path she cleared. Chapter 4. What I learned from it. There's something poetic about the torch not being passed, but being chased, caught, and carried. From Serena, Coco learned that power can look like joy, that vulnerability and dominance can coexist, that crying on the court isn't weakness, it's proof that you care enough to break. But Coco also learned from her own missteps, from early exits, from double faults, from critics who said she was too young, too nice, too distracted. She learned to separate noise from knowledge. I learned that every loss taught me something no one ever could, she said in an interview. Serena taught me how to be strong. Losing taught me how to be brave. And bravery, it turns out, is what separates potential from legacy. Chapter 5. Moving on, not letting go. Coco Gauff is not Serena Williams. She never wanted to be. She's the girl who dances during rain delays, who signs autographs until security taps her shoulder, who once apologized for speaking too confidently in an interview, and then owned that confidence the next time. She's grace. She's grit. She's Coco. And now, she stands not in Serena's shadow, but beside her on the mountain of tennis greats, building a peak of her own. It's not about erasing what came before, Coco said after her recent win. It's about honoring it by building something just as lasting. Epilogue. The lesson. So, what did she learn? She learned that idols don't exist to be imitated, but to be transcended. That greatness isn't about beating someone else's records. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, despite the pressure, the noise, the doubt. She learned that moving on doesn't mean forgetting where you started. That every serve, every sprint, every mistake, every comeback taught her something vital. And now, when little girls swing rackets in their driveways, they might still think of Serena, but they'll also think of Coco. And one day, when someone asks them who taught them to fight with grace, smile with strength, and lead with joy, they'll say, I learned from her.